whatever, the slave does not cease to get close to me by doing the nawafil, those things from the sunnah, following the Prophet, except that I will love him. And if I love him, I become the ears by which he hears. Allah. I become the eyes by which he sees. I become the hand by which he strikes. I become the feet by which he walks. If he asks me for something, I'll give it to him. If he seeks refuge in me and protection, I'll protect him. That's the qabul. Someone comes to you with some kalam, and you see it for the reality. You hear it for the reality. He's trying to steal your money. Hey, why don't you make an investment in this project? Because it's this, that. He has a lot of nice kalam, shows you a nice, presentation, and you're looking at it. But when you're from those who Allah loves, Allah helps you to see and hear the reality of what's being said and what's being presented. Allah said to the Prophet in the Quran in this regard, مَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. Before the battle of Badr started, the Prophet picked up some dirt, just one handful, and he threw it. Go far away over there. Allah said, you didn't throw when you threw, but Allah threw. One hand of dirt, he threw it, went into people's eyes, they couldn't see, they were at a deficit, the Muslims came and started to pounce upon them. Because they were from the people Allah loved. They were from the people Allah. If Allah loves you, Allah becomes the hand by which you strike. In the examination, you write a book on the internet, you have to write an email, Allah is with you, you take it from there. So the point here is, those are the two most important characteristics. Nothing is more important than that. You can be the best human being in the world in terms of your generosity, in terms of your patience, in terms of your good character. But if you're making shirk with Allah, all of that is going to be to no avail. All of that. And if you're not following the Prophet ﷺ and you're going against him, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. And those 2 points show us the importance of every action and every deed is going to be accepted by Allah only if you have ikhlas and only if it's in accordance to what the Prophet brought. I come here and I turn these lights off and we start to light the incense and we sit here and we start saying Allah, 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 and we do that with sincerity, with ikhlas, sincerity, and we do it all day. Allah is not going to accept it because it's not in accordance to what the Prophet brought. That's not the religion that he brought. And this religion is not in need of someone introducing any ibadah to it, even if you're a person with ikhlas. And the opposite of that is the individual who prays or gives this class, and what you say is correct and the way you pray is correct, but you're doing it to show off. It's not going to be accepted. You have to have the correct aqidah, al-ikhlas, at-Tawheed. I can't emphasize that enough. And you have to have al-ittiba', has to be in accordance to what the Prophet brought, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now the next ones, guys, there are too many, but I don't know where they fit in terms of the chronological order of what's most important. I just know the first two are most important. All of the rest of them are important, but is it third, fourth? I don't know about that. I'm just going to mention some to you, and they are many, many, many. How much time do I have, Akhi Shamsuddin?
10 minutes.
That's all?
15 minutes.
Since I have 15 minutes, I'll deal with this one, inshallah. That is the hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You want to be from those who Allah loves. Allah's Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, المؤمن القوي خير وأحب إلى الله من المؤمن الضعيف وفي كل خير. The believer who is strong is better and more beloved to Allah, more beloved than the believer who is da'if, weak. And both of them is good because both of them are possessors of iman, so they're both good. The one who reads the Quran and the one who doesn't read the Quran. The one who reads the Quran is like the date. He's like the atraj, has a good smell and a nice taste. And the Muslim who doesn't read the Quran, he's like the date. No smell, but a good taste. Both of them have some good. But the one who is doing all of that is better. So the believer who is strong is better and more beloved to Allah than the believer who is weak. Now, gotta pay attention. I only got a few minutes here. This hadith is talking about strength of iman, of course, but that's not why the Prophet spoke about this hadith. The reason why he mentioned this hadith and the emphasis of this hadith is talking about physical prowess and strength, especially for the men. That's what this hadith is talking about, physical strength. The reason why he said that is because the believer who is strong physically, he can get up and he can go out and he can get a job. And he can come back and provide for his family, and he doesn't have to go to the masjid and ask people, give me sadaqah fi sabilillah. He's not a burden on the people. He's not a burden on society. The believer who is strong, like what happened a few minutes ago, those hooligans came into the hotel, and it's just me and my queen. And they were about 20. I was outnumbered. And I'm not going to try to fight 20 people. But if it had to go down, I'm going to get some of them. I know that. They may get me, but I'm going to get some of them. I'm going to get some of them. Whereas the individual who they see, this is an easy prey right now. This is an easy prey. They're going to try to do something with you. But when you get up and you walk towards them and you start talking and you're in that place and say, okay, this guy made a little bit of problem here, so they didn't say anything. And I'm not bragging that I'm strong. I'm not bragging that I'm strong. But the guy who sits there with his wife and he's like this, they're going to say, this is the guy, we're going to mess with him. And this is human nature. Human nature. If you see someone who's big and strong, he looks like he can take care of himself, you're going to think 1, 2, 3, 4 times about doing something. Look how the Prophet taught us about this. The importance of physical strength. When he came from Mecca and he went to Medina, he conquered the people in Medina, then he went back to Mecca to conquer Mecca. When he conquered Mecca, he wanted to make tawaf around the Kaaba. They conquered the people. Now he wants to make tawaf. A rumor started spreading saying that the Prophet ﷺ and his companions were sick and they were weak. And the kuffar started thinking, oh, maybe we can get them because they're weak. Maybe we can. They started thinking. Jibril came to the Prophet and told him about this rumor, which wasn't true. The Prophet ﷺ told the companions to do something that teaches us the importance of this simple lesson. How many of you have been to Mecca? Put your hands up. Inshallah. How many of you have not been to Mecca? Put your hands up. Oh, the majority, Masakin, you guys have been poor. Allah help them to go to Mecca.
Ameen.
Allah make it easy for them to go to Mecca. Those of you who went to Mecca, and most of you have seen that in Mecca you wear the ihram, the big towel on the bottom and the big towel on the top. Nothing underneath for the man. The woman wears her regular clothes. Doesn't have to be white. Doesn't have to be white. The man wears the towels. The Prophet told the men, take that towel that they used to have over their shoulders. He said, take the right arm and wrap the towel under. And he told them, and make sure you make the towel push your muscle out like this. And he ran around the Kaaba 3 times. They jogged around the Kaaba 3 times. The first 3, you have to make 7. He jogged around. So those of you who went to Mecca and you say, why do we have to do that? This is the reason why. Quraysh said they're weak. We should get them. When they saw the Muslims jogging around, their muscles was like that, they said, oh, those people are not weak. And they backed up. Because the believer was qawi, in shape, he's able to defend himself. He's able to defend his wife. He's able to defend his principles. He's able to take a stance. He's not a chump. Something happens, he's able to do something. Look at the Muslim world today. Look at the Arabs today, the Muslims. Every time something happens, they have to go and ask the West, come and help us. Saddam Hussein is doing this, come and help us. We want to get rid of Gaddafi, come and help us. That's the Arabs today. Africans are the same way. Africans are the same way. The continent of Africa, they have the African Union or whatever they call it. Same thing. Whenever there's a problem, they call in the West, come and help us. Although the West, the intervention of the West is going to put them in a bigger problem than what they're usually dealing with. That's because of the believer who is weak, he can't help his own cause. He can't help his own self. So Allah loves the individual who is strong. Now some of the sisters may sit there and they may say, no, this is only for the men. No, this is not only for the men. The Muslim woman also has to be strong. Not that she can go out and make jihad and do, no, not for that. But she has to be able to protect herself too. She has to be able to be a person who has strong resolve about whatever's going on. She has to be able to deal with the situation. But primarily, the hadith is talking about the Muslim man. So our lifestyle, the way we are. We're living in a time, I don't know about up here. Do they have the EDL here? Huh? SBO. SBL. You're walking down the street with your wife. The what? SBL, huh? SDL. Yeah, I'm still trying to get used to the Scottish thing, you know, that thing. I have Scottish Power. That's my energy provider, Scottish Power. Every time I call them to tell them about the problem, my lights and electricity. They always put someone who speaks in Scottish. Say, look, man, I can't understand you, man. Can you get somebody else that I can understand? Because you just talking real fast out of the side of your neck, and my money, I just want to know what's going on. So you guys have to bear with me. The SDL. You're walking down the street with your wife, with your mother, and some drama jumps off, and you say to your wife, look, you just have to handle your business. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to get in the wind. And I don't want any of you brothers to misunderstand me. I'm not talking about being violent. I'm not talking about fighting. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about exercising your natural human right for self-preservation, to protect yourself. So you have to work out. You have to develop yourself. All of us. We have to be people who eat better. We have to be people who, like the way our lifestyles are. I get complaints all the time. The way we eat junk food, other than that, Islam tells you that the believer eats for one's intestine. The kafir munafiq, he eats for 7 intestines. 7. Why did the Prophet tell the people that? Why did he tell them? These are Islamic ways of just taking care of your health. Natural, simple ways. In my class with some of the young people that I had, they were bragging about their fathers. And I was just listening to them. My father can do this, and my father can do that. One of the little boys, he said, my father can eat 6 chapatis. And that was a thing of strength in his mind. Yo, little man, that's a bad thing. Your father eats 6 chapatis. We eat 6 chapatis. So the point is, you guys, especially, Allah Azza wa Jalla loves the believer who can take care of himself. Don't be a weakling. Don't be one of those individuals who he has to rely on other people to get other people involved and do your own work. The last one that we want to mention, inshallah, before our break, we're supposed to have Q&A?
Inshallah, we can.
Okay, then we only have 5 minutes, so the brother said leave 5 minutes, inshallah, for the Q&A session. Just to recap very quickly before we open up the floor for the Q&A, Hadith, Sahih Bukhari, Muslim, Allah, if He loves a slave and if He loves anybody, anyone from amongst us, if He does love you, Jibreel loves you, the Malaika love you, and He puts the qabul, or the acceptance, in the earth. And the 2 most important characteristics for Allah to love an individual is he has to be a person of At-Tawheed, a person of At-Tawheed. In the authentic hadith, the Prophet says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, inna ahabbul a'mali ila Allah al-imanu billah. The most beloved deed, the most beloved action to Allah is having faith in Allah, believing in Allah, believing in Him correctly. It's more important than salah, zakat, saum, hajj, birr walidain. Believing in Allah correctly, who He is, who He isn't, what He does and what He doesn't do. All of those issues. And following the one, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who shows us the correct path that will lead us to the eternal salvation. Okay, Ikhwani, if you brothers and sisters have any questions, you can put your questions forward now, inshallah. Open up the floor for any questions that you may have. Send the dust. عندكم شيء؟
Brother Amr will get the questions for the sister, inshallah.
You brothers have any questions?